Hey guys, and welcome back to Gabriella's Kitchen. I thought for this video I'd ask you guys at home what you'd like to see me make, and you all said risotto. So I'm going to show you a really basic classic risotto. I'm going to take you through some knife skills on how to prepare the veg for the risotto. For this recipe you're going to need a nice big saucepan with a really wide surface area. You're going to need some risotto rice, which is arborio or carnaroli rice. We're going to need some garlic, onion and celery, Parmesan, a little glass of white wine, butter, olive oil and some good quality veg or chicken stock. So the start of every good risotto has a sofrito, which is the base, and that's going to be the first time we introduce flavour to our risotto. So I'm using onion, celery and garlic, but you can use leeks, you can leave the celery out, just use onion. You just want some sort of base flavour. I'm going to show you now how to do some really basic chopping skills that will make it so much easier for you. So all you're going to need is a knife, and a great little tip, have a little bowl for all your scraps. So when you're chopping, all the end bits you don't need, you've got somewhere to toss them to keep the chopping board nice and clear. We're going to start off with our onion. You want to make sure you've got a nice flat surface area. So we're just going to go right down the middle. And this way it's easy now just to peel back the skin. So here's my scrap bowl. I'm just going to peel that skin back. So next step, we're going to take the little end off the onion. But make sure you keep the root on. So if that's my whole onion, I've taken the top off, but I've left that root. And that's what's going to give us loads of control as we're slicing our onions. So then what we're going to do is, we're going to take our knife, and it's always important that we're using a sharp knife, and we're going to hold the onion down, keeping our fingers tucked under. This means we're protecting our fingers from getting cut. If I was to go like this and to slip, I'd slice my fingers. So by folding them under and using that and my body weight, I'm protecting my fingers. So with the knife, mark out roughly halfway through the onion and just make an incision right through to the back. Make sure we're stopping at the root, we're not going right the way through. Take the knife out carefully, and then what we're going to do is, on the onion you can see natural small lines that go across. These are a great natural guide for us. So what we're going to do is, again, protecting our fingers, fold them under, heavy on the weight, and we're just going to follow those natural lines that the onion's given us all the way around. Again, we're slicing, but we're stopping at the root. We're not taking it all the way through. So now we've made our cuts across the onion, stopping at the root. You can see I'm left with these lovely little individual fans. And now, as if by magic, protecting our fingers, tucked under, I'm just going to chop opposite, and I'm left with a fantastic, really small, fine dice. If you're worried that yours is still a little bit too chunky, don't be afraid just to take the knife and go over it and get a finer dice. Next, we're going to go on to celery. So the first things first is, let's chop it into more manageable pieces. We'll take the ends off and the roots. Again, into our handy little scrap bowl. We're going to go in half again. This just makes it much more easy for us to chop the celery. So from here, what we're going to do is, we're just going to cut our celery into thinner little sticks, just like this. And this means when we chop it across the way, like we did before with the onion, we're going to be left with a really nice small dice. Next up, we've got garlic. I've got two ways of doing this. One, the first and the easiest way is on a really fine grater. Just take it and run the garlic clove over, and make sure you just stop at the root, because you don't want that, and you're left with a really nice finely grated garlic. Just remember guys, if you're using the grater technique, this garlic is so much finer and it is more likely to burn. So if you're using something like a pasta sauce, I wouldn't suggest this way. I'd go with a fine dice, which we do this way. But taking the root off, the little end bit, into our scrap bowl. Again, chop it into more manageable pieces, and then with your knife, just run it over until you're left with a nice fine dice. And just keep running your knife back and forth over it. So, when making risotto, it's really important to make sure you've got all your mise en place ready. Mise en place just means all your preparation. So one of the most important steps through risotto and a secret chef tip is you need to keep your butter very cold. So when we finish the risotto and we add the butter, this is what gives that risotto that incredibly creamy texture that you see when you go out to restaurants. So make sure you've got that into really nice small cubes and keep this in the fridge. Do not miss this step out, very important. Next, we're gonna make our stock. Now, whenever you're doing stock, people always seem to just put a stock cube in and presume it is gonna be fine. You need to make sure you're tasting your stock. You should be able to taste that on its own with a spoon, and it should taste pleasant, not too salty, and something you can actually enjoy on its own. So always go with a little bit of stock first. So 1 stock cube, let that melt in and give it a little taste and just check that it tastes right. So my stock is ready. I'm using chicken stock today, but depending on what sort of flavour risotto you're doing, you can use any stock. If it was a seafood one, you'd do fish stock. If you're keeping it vegetarian, go with a veggie stock. So into our sauté pan, medium-low heat. We're going to go with equal parts butter and olive oil. So I'm going to go about a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil. Oil and the butter smells together nicely, so we're going to go in with our base of our veg, our sofrito. So I've got my finely diced onion going in, and I've got my celery and my garlic. And it's really important now that we don't have it on a super high heat, because we want to soften these vegetables, release all the sweetness and the moisture from them. We don't want to fry them, and we definitely do not want to gain any colour on them. As I mentioned before, we don't want to get any colour on our veg. So a great little tip is a good little pinch of salt on top of the veg will help release and draw out the moisture, which means our pan will not get too hot and it won't burn. Just make sure you keep on moving everything around. It'll be here for about 5 to 10 minutes. You want this veg to be really soft and for it to lose that raw, harsh flavour. The veg has been on for about 5 minutes now, so this would be the great time to add some different flavour variations. If you wanted to add some sausage meat, you just take out the skin, saute that off with the veg. If you were going to do some seafood, maybe fresh calamaris and prawns, this would be the stage that you'd add it. Just sort of get everything sauteed. You could do mushrooms, chorizo, chicken. The veg has been on for 10 minutes. It's really soft. I can tell it's ready because it's starting to go translucent and there's a lot of creaminess coming out. At this point, we're going to increase the heat and we're going to go in with our risotto rice. So I'm going in with about 300 grams of rice, so I've got about 1.5 litres of stock. It's always better to make more stock than not enough. If you've got any left over, keep it in the fridge, make a soup with it the next day. Increase the heat, it's nice and high, and I'm making sure every single grain of rice is coated in all that lovely onion and celery flavour. Once you feel like the rice is well coated, we're going to add our liquid. So our first liquid we're going to introduce is some alcohol. So today I'm using white wine. You can use Prosecco, if it's a special occasion, you could use champagne if you really want to. If you were doing something with maybe sausage, a nice red Barolo wine would work really well. This part is just important that our heat is really high because we want to evaporate that alcohol but keep the flavour of the wine. So straight into the pan. You can see it simmering and that's what we're looking for. And we're just going to keep this rice moving around the pan until the smell of alcohol's gone, it's reduced and we're just left with really nice glossy rice. So all the alcohol's evaporated because when I drag my spoon through it, there's no liquid coming through, but I'm just seeing lovely glossy grains of rice. We're ready to add our stock. So at this stage, guys, it's important for me to let you know we're going to be here for the foreseeable future. We're not going to leave this pan or this spoon. We're going to stay very attentive to it. So we're going to start adding our stock now, ladle by ladle. Lower your heat slightly to medium. We don't want to just completely evaporate the liquid straight away. So 1 ladle at a time, keep the pan moving. And what we're looking for here is to start to cook that rice and release the starch. And the best way to know when you're ready to add another ladle is when you drag your spoon through it, there should be no liquid coming through. So I can see here, I'm not quite there yet. The risotto's been on for about 20 minutes now. I've taken it off the heat and we're going to work really quickly now by adding some of our diced cold cube butter that's come straight from the fridge. So I'm going to put that in, making sure our risotto's off the heat. And we're going to go with a nice big handful of Parmesan as well. Sprinkle that over. And now what we want to do is beat that in. And as that cold butter emulsifies with the hot risotto, it's going to make it super creamy. The butter and Parmesan's melted in, and you can just see how amazingly creamy that looks. So what we're going to do now is give it a quick little taste. This is the last time we're going to be able to add any seasoning. Tastes great. The cheese is giving it a really nice salty hit. I'm not going to add any salt, but I am going to add some fresh black pepper. And just another little note is, in the beginning when I was talking about keeping that heat on a really medium low when we were sauteing our veg, that's how we've ended up with a really lovely bright white risotto. If we'd had that heat too high and we got any colour on our onions, garlic and celery, we would have had a really sort of dull brown risotto. So now we're ready to serve. So just straight into the middle of our plate, like so. Another really nice little tip for plating risotto, you just take your plate and with the bottom of your hand, apply a bit of pressure. It just spreads it out lovely and evenly. I'm going to add a little bit of pesto to finish mine off today, just across the top. Some lovely fresh rocket and some Parmesan shavings. Final touch, a little drizzle of some really good quality extra virgin olive oil, just to dress our rocket. So here it is guys, a classic risotto. Thanks for watching.